All right, so rather than light single arm pushdowns, I managed to strap 2 plates onto the stack. So I'll just start with something heavier. But whether you do a heavy set or like a light squeezing set, as long as you get a pump and you feel fatigued at the end of it, you definitely did something. So the weight's not so important, so you don't have to freaking, push yourself so hard that you kind of tweak your elbow or your shoulder for no reason. And then you couple that with the fact that you don't have so much energy to freaking recover from those tiny twinges. It just makes sense to be a little bit more conservative with your weights. Like maybe don't go too crazy, but you want to go heavy enough to stimulate your shit. Every time I do a set of curls and I curl up with one side, I have to use my abs to kind of counteract that weight. Plus, every time you look in the mirror and you flex your abs, you're kind of giving them some stimulation. Once they're built, they're not going anywhere, right? I don't have to hit abs in my routine to keep them developed, right? They just don't need so much stimulation. Like with your abs, this is actually a perfect example. You're not just gonna get abs out of nowhere, but if you actually work them dedicated with weight, like weighted crunches or ab machines, that's the best method to go about it. Train it just like any other muscle. But once you've built them, I don't think they really need much more direct work, because just from like doing tricep pushdowns where you're gonna kind of activate your abs because you're bending over to push down the weight, or doing compound lifts like squats and stuff because they're a stabilizer, and the amount of stimulation that muscle needs to be maintained is a little bit less than it needs to grow. Like I pretty much want to say it's just like muscle memory. Like once you've built it up, it doesn't take so much to maintain. Like insane in the gym when you're cutting down. Because for the most part, I think that when I'm dieting, when I'm trying to lose body fat, the point of the lift, right? The whole point of the lift is to maintain my strength. But actually, even secondary, that's even secondary to the main goal, which is just to maintain the muscle that's already on my frame. I got sugar flowing through my blood, energy's all over the place, tons of fats, just all my joints feel awesome. When you're bulked up and you've got a lot of food at your disposal, your body's obviously going to be able to make more use of that energy to kind of fix shit. Now, in a cutting context, you got a little bit less energy. Actually, you've got less energy than your body even needs every day to stay the same weight. That's kind of the whole point of being in the deficit. So you don't have so much at your disposal to kind of direct towards. They definitely knew what they were doing back in the 2000s and the 90s. I'm not saying they don't now. The best dip machine that I ever used was one in this pretty cool gym up in, I think it's Petoskey, Michigan. It's like the first floor is a commercial gym, and then the basement is more like the dungeon, where it's a lot more hardcore, like an old school gym. So it's got kind of that two-tone feel. But there was an old school dip machine, and I don't think I ever felt my triceps contract in a better way on a dip in my life. And it had a sweet seat belt to lock you into the seat. No, it was great. Yeah, obviously having anything pumped, it's gonna make you look bigger. And especially that one specific muscle is gonna be bigger. But with an arm pump, especially looking at it head on for me, my arms are just kind of extra thicker. It just kind of gives you a more brolic look, maybe. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, whatever. It's like with an arm pump, looking at it from the side, especially in like a front lat spread, I freaking love it. Freaking love it. Yeah, I'm not cutting this shit now. Come on. I don't know why, but for the past couple of years that I've been at school, I've pretty much gotten a haircut at the beginning of the year, like the school year, in the fall. And then I let it grow out for another year, and then I would cut it. So I'm gonna push it. So now it's been about a year, actually a year and a couple months. I'm gonna keep it growing. I forgot to bring a scale. So I have my one, I like to just use the same scale when I come back and forth, just because, some scales are just off. So, keeping your weighing, your weight checking routine consistent is going to give you some legit, actual trackable data. Cut is resulting in, noticeable changes. So I'm not like super strict on myself. I'll go over on the carbs and the fats a little bit, but that is not the way to do it. You know, if you're not noticing any changes on the scale or any visual changes of your body fat, then you gotta change some shit up, and you gotta do it in a very strict way. You know, I mean, I don't want to just do a calorie counting preaching session every car talk, but I swear the number one factor which is going to determine whether or not you gain weight or lose weight, and when you add when you add bodybuilding weight training into that equation, then the only thing that's going to change whether or not you gain muscle or lose fat is if you eat in a calorie surplus or if you eat in a calorie deficit. So one thing with the stupid simple macro trackers, it can show you the average over the last 30 days. Oh, I guess I've been pretty good then. So over the last 30 days, the average macros has been 220 grams of carbs, 80 grams of fat, 226 grams of protein, and average calories 2534. Okay, so I guess I kind of am on track. What am I talking about? I bet I forgot to track some. Because I've been doing more like 2,800 calories. I think I'm gonna try to really lock it in on 2,500 for the next month.